Well, would you look at that? A horizontal retro handheld that is under $70 that plays up to PSP. Ooh. Let's check it out. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. This is Retro Fun Tech. So I am back from vacation and was greeted by this when I got home. This is the Anbernic RG35xxH. Whew, that's a mouthful. I was immediately drawn to this for its price, size, and it's finally a plastic horizontal handheld from Anbernic. This is a first impressions video of this device, but we will show off some gameplay as well. It feels really nice. The size is pretty spot on for what I was hoping for. The buttons are glossy and have a decent bounce to them. The D-pad is your classic nice Anbernic D-pad. I always like their square D-pads because they remind me of what you would use on an 8-bit console. I don't think the inline shoulder buttons are too terribly clicky. Little loud, but not too bad. On the top, to the left of the L1, L2 buttons is a headphone jack, an OTG port, mini HDMI port, DC OTG port, and a function button. This actually serves as a menu button for the Anbernic settings menu that I will show later. And then we have the R1 and R2 shoulder buttons. On the back are some grippy pads that actually help the device from sliding around on the table or in your hands. I should mention that this is the purple transparent color, which looks a bit gray to me. I wish it was a little more purple, but it's neat to see all the components inside. On the bottom are dual stereo speakers that actually sound pretty good. There are 2 SD card slots. You can add your own games card to the TF2 slot on the right. This device actually came with an SD card and there wasn't an option to get it without the card on the website. It comes preloaded with a few games, and there's also an option to buy an additional card with more games on it, but as always, I would recommend not doing that. Save your money, get your own card, source your own games. Here you can see the rest of the website info. It comes in 3 different colors: clear, black, or the transparent purple that I have. And you can see the battery size and the rest of the stats. Back to the device, you can see on the right side we have a power button and a reset button, and on the left side we have just a volume button up and down. So here is one of my older handhelds. This is the Anbernic RG35xxP from 2021. Ever since I got this device, I always hoped that Anbernic would come out with a more powerful, compact, horizontal handheld that was plastic. Sure, they came out with a metal edition, but I'm not a fan of metal handhelds. To me, they are always a bit heavier and they have worse Wi-Fi. You can see that the devices are very similar. Slight variations on where some of the buttons and inputs are located. I've always liked the size of this handheld, and I think it's a happy medium for someone that doesn't want a vertical handheld, but doesn't need to go as powerful as, say, the RP4 or Odin devices. This runs on Linux, unlike the others I just mentioned, but that's okay because this chipset, you don't need anything higher. Now, since I have the 351p here, you can see the same game running on both devices. And you can also see that the 351p is a bit more pixelated. It's also nice that they updated the shoulder buttons and joysticks. According to the Anbernic website, they don't say Hall sensor sticks, but they do claim that they are more accurate, high precision, no drift, and no dead zone sticks. And here's a close-up of the devices so you can see the screen. Alright, so let's turn this on, and you can see that there isn't any specialized custom firmware for this device. I'm not a huge fan of the software that Anbernic ends up putting on here. I hope that they will come out with a custom firmware for this device because that's the one thing that's holding this device back. It's awesome for the price point, and so far it seems to be playing things pretty well. Here you can see I have Metal Slug playing, and it's on PSP and it actually works, so that's always a good thing. So when you press the function button up at the top, you can see that you will access the menu settings. So if you're in PSP or PS1, it actually takes you to the menu settings in that emulator. If not, it takes you back to RetroArch, which you will see when I start up the other games. Now I'm just going to run through the menu, and just to show you, if you were to buy this right out of the box, what you would be getting. This is the 64 gig card, so it's preloaded with the software and it has a few games. You can see it doesn't have everything, it's just a handful of games and systems. Pretty decent collection, so you can play this right out of the box, which is pretty cool for under $70. We're going to hang out with Tekken 6 on PSP here for a second. Bear with me. I just want to show you how you can hit the function button and then go into the settings. And here I'm kind of messing around with the settings. I change it from 1x to 2x. You can see that there's no back end for Vulkan. It's only OpenGL, which is okay. Vulkan tends to run a little bit better. OpenGL is more accurate, so I'm fine with either one of them. Usually, if you have troubles with it stuttering or skipping, you can usually use Vulkan and you're able to get it to run a little bit better. I also was trying to take off the full screen mode. It looks like you have to go into a different display setting in PPSSPP and change that. So if you don't mind the black bars at the top and the bottom and you want a true PSP experience and don't want it to be stretched to full screen, then you can actually do that there. I don't typically mess around with Atomiswave or Sega Naomi very much, so it was kind of fun to play some different games from each of these systems. Also, if you follow my channel, you'll notice that I have Stubbs Nubbs thumbstick caps on the device. They work, they fit, and there's a link in the description below. Dreamcast actually seemed to run pretty decently. Now you'll notice that there aren't a whole lot of Dreamcast games loaded on this device, and that's probably for a reason. They typically only put games that seem to run okay on here. And Crazy Taxi 2 had a little bit of slowdown, but not too much. Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories on PSP had a little bit of slowdown. You can hear in the audio that it kind of skips when you're in a car and you're driving around, or motorcycle in this case. And I did notice here and there some definite lag, so just keep in mind for Dreamcast and PSP, this device is not a Dreamcast or PSP machine. Just treat those as bonus systems. A cool feature that is actually in the settings on this device is Tate mode. That means you can actually do arcade in vertical handheld mode, which you'll see here. Usually this is a pain in the butt to set up, but on this device there's actually an entire category with a bunch of games listed that you can go ahead and play in Tate mode. Another cool feature of this device is the mini HDMI actually works, and you can see here it's hooked up, and I'm going to play a couple different games with it. Looks pretty nice. So it's time to go over the good and the bad. So the good. The price. The price to performance for $70, this really isn't a bad little handheld if you want something portable and horizontal. Also, you can play right out of the box. If you're looking for something that you can play right out of the box and in this form factor, this is a pretty good device for that. Sure, it's not perfect, and we will get to that, but you could easily have a really great time with what's on here already. I actually was having fun with playing all the different systems that I don't typically get to play, like Atomiswave, Sega Naomi, WonderSwan, and Neo Geo Pocket, to name a few. HDMI out. It works, and it's a great addition to this little device that, I keep saying it, but it's only $70. Now to the bad. And really, I only have one major gripe. The firmware. The firmware is just not great. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. The firmware is awful. I wish Anbernic would stop thinking that their stock operating system is great, because it isn't. On top of that, they don't seem to like to play well with others, meaning developers. So while I keep hearing about some custom firmware that could be right around the corner, I don't want anyone out there to get their hopes up of some awesome custom firmware and it never happens. The other thing about the custom firmware is that I would like to see if this device could run some other mid-tier systems like N64 or Sega Saturn. It's weird that only Dreamcast and PSP are on here. My guess is that either the device or the crappy stock firmware can't handle it. Having custom firmware for this device would only help unlock its potential, which is sad that it's missed here. Native Pico 8 Explorer, scraping box art, Sega Saturn, N64, just a wish list to anyone that's listening. So, what are your thoughts on the Anbernic RG35xxH? Is it the horizontal retro handheld that you have been waiting for, or are you going to pass because of the weird stock firmware on it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and even share this video with someone who needs a little retro fun in their life. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome, everyone, and go play some games.